Witchlings, welcome back to my channel. It's me, your local chaotic witch aunt, and today we're going to be going through my favorite witchy reads of 2023. So I have a stack of witchy books. Once again, I'm aware 2023 is not over yet. Okay, I know this. However, I want to get ahead because I've read a lot of witchy books this year, more than usual, and I loved all of them, and I want to go through and share them with you. Plus, it's fall. Fall is the witch time. It's the time for witches. New head covering alert. So we're gonna start off with, I guess, start here. Not all of these are quote unquote witchy per se. Some of them are like herbal books, folklore books. I want to start off with one of my most recent reads. Now this book, and by the way, some of these books have not been published in 2023. I just read them in 2023, so I want you to keep that in mind. This is Financial Sorcery by Jason Miller, which is one of my favorite witchy books I've ever read. Maybe it's because I don't seek out money magic books a lot. Maybe it's because I feel like Jason Miller always gives like the real deal, hard-hitting. He doesn't mince corners. He doesn't try to sugarcoat anything. He's like, here's the reality of money magic. You gotta like money. And I'm like, what? This book really changed the way that I do my money magic and abundance magic. It changed the way I think about money magic and abundance magic. And I think it's just such a good book. It's so practical and mundane focused, which I personally adore. I think there's a benefit and purpose to books that are really focused on spiritual things, enlightenment, psychicness, etc. But I am a sucker as a folk practitioner. I am a sucker for the mundane, for the practical. And Jason Miller pulls it out with this. This is not my first Jason Miller book, but I think it's one of my favorites. I also love that there are references and resources at the back of every chapter. Jason Miller, if you're watching this, I love it. Sigils, everything. Because of this is the first book that I wanted to talk about. These aren't in a particular order. There's no like me sitting here saying this is the like by far the best one or this is not the best one. I'm just going through all the books that I really liked so far in 2023. Starting to kind of move into more herbal witchy areas are The Witching Herbs by Harold Roth. I didn't know if I was gonna like this book. I loved it. He goes through 13 essential plants and herbs for your magical garden, deep dives magic, planetary correspondences, folklore in that one chapter, which is my favorite. I love it. Including some herbs that I feel like don't get enough love, at least in common witch books, including rue, clary sage, vervain, poppy. Like, it's just, some of them you hear about a lot, like wormwood, mugwort, etc. But like hyssop, yarrow, rue, vervain, those are my pals. Those are my friends, and I feel like I rarely hear them talked through. But I love this. I mean like talking about things in ancient times, in practice, unguents, herbal associate. It's just like, it's a well-researched book. Roth is a successful gardener, but a magician, but also not only a successful gardener, but also a magician and a scholar of the occult. No other book blends clear, practical gardening techniques with equally lucid and sophisticated plant magic so successfully. I agree. I love it. This is my favorite. Witching Herbs is going to be in a unfiltered Chaotic Witch Aunt review on Patreon in October. So if you're interested, you can sign up for the Rooted tier. Actually, it's the Rosa tier, $6 a month, about a cup of coffee. Next, Botanical Curses and Poisons by Fez and Gray. I read Fez's folk healing book and absolutely adored it. I think I like this one even more. It's basically an encyclopedia of a bunch of different plants, herbs, etc. I threw my post-it notes that are known were used in curses and or poisons. It goes into lore, you know, talking about what is actually in the plant, if the plant contains poison. It goes through like basic ones like mandrake, you know, hellebore, etc. But it also talks about ones that I feel like are less known, like certain types of grasses, crocus, azalea, basil. Basil's good in curses, by the way. Bittersweet, blackthorn, like things that you wouldn't necessarily know about. A lot of them are really like witchy and folkloric, but there are also a lot of garden plants that you're like, I didn't know that was poisonous, like hydrangea, and etc., and other ones as well. Hardcover illustrations are gorgeous. The entire thing is made by Fez. I absolutely adore this. I've talked about this book before, but Radical Remedies is an herbalist's guide to self-care, and I absolutely love this book. Look at all those post-it notes. ASMR. This book really changed the way that I interact with my body, and for people who are really interested in herbalism, this is a great beginner book, and talking about like accountability, ethics and sourcing of ethics, different plant profiles, different approaches to herbalism, anti-inflammatory meals, gut healing, vitality. It's like just so good, and it's pretty. As a chronically ill baddie, I loved the emphasis on healthy gut flora. Love a gut flora moment, as well as how we need to sometimes change our diet in order to reflect that. And talking a lot about herbs and flower essences, there are also guides in this book for making your own flower essences, making medical strength infusions, vinegars and oxymels, tinctures, hydrosols, and sustainability. It's just such a good wraparound book. I feel like it covered everything that I was curious about with herbalism. And of course I've read other herbalism books, especially folk herbalist books, and to build off of this, but this was my starting point to learning about herbalism and really kind of interacting with herbs in a way that was different to how I've been doing it for a really long time. I really recommend this book. Not, like I said, some of these books are not necessarily witchy, or published this year, but I love all of them. Now we're getting into the witch books. We went from like herbs and folklore into witchy. I didn't think I was gonna, okay. Before you judge, this is written by Corey Thomas Hutchinson, who wrote New World Witchery. This is an encyclopedia, and it's literally written by a bunch of different folk practitioners. Llewellyn's Complete Book of North American Folk Magic. This is the chunkiest book. I had the absolute honor of reading it early and giving a quotation to be put on the back. The best part of this book is that Corey compiles it. Corey edits it and puts in little tidbits, like little historical folkloric information. But everyone in here is a folk practitioner from a different tradition, and they wrote a section. It is the most expansive and engaging, like, record of folk magic I think that we have. Not like ever, but like that I've seen recently. A few people start Cass, J. Allen Cross, Alexander Cummins, Lilith Dorsey, Dee Norman, my love. I love Dee Norman. Corey Thomas Hutchinson, Aaron Oberon, who I also love. They're amazing. Benabel Wen, Brandon Weston. It's just like, they said, let me get everyone in here. And I mean, Dee's section, you know, it's so hard to find Italian American folk magic information. And because of that, I absolutely, I love that it's in here. It's just such a good book. And it goes from place to place, and I love it. And I really didn't know if I was gonna love it. I love it. One of my favorites. It's very thick, but if you're looking for a lot of different information from different people on folk magic, and you want to familiarize yourself, not necessarily with a particular folk magic, but how folk magic intertwines and is similar to each other across traditions, this Complete Book of North American Folk Magic is for you. Next one. I know we just talked about Dee Norman. Of course, it's Burn a Black Candle by Dee Norman. I love this book. I go to it. I don't know if you can see. I have like the dog ears on the bottom and where I'm supposed to put post-it notes. I like to color coordinate my post-it notes. bookish babe. I revisit and reread this book, similar to like Italian Folk Magic by Mary Grace Farren, about once a year. So I will always include it. The color is beautiful. Dee really put everything into this book. Sometimes I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing or what to do in this situation, especially when we talk about like Italian American folk magic. This is an Italian American grimoire. So whenever I don't know what to do, I either go into Dee Norman's book, or I go into Mary Grace Farren's book, or I go into Agostino Taumaturgo's book. And I look and see if there's a spell in there or a ritual or a cure that they have shared with the world in a way that is so scary and so vulnerable, that they've shared with the world that you can do. But talking about like working with the saints, working with the ancestors, household altars, evil eye protection, maintaining good fortune, special occasions, and it's like gorgeous. It's just so good. There's just beautiful art in here, and the art and the kind of like, it doesn't take away from the really good information. This is one of my favorite Italian American folk magic books. And keep in mind it's a grimoire, so you may be reading this as an Italian American folk practitioner and you're like, oh, I didn't do any of this. Grimoire, babe. Sometimes things are like this, you know. Sometimes we all have different practices. Folk magic is the magic of the people. There's no right way to do it. I love this. I love it. Next up, we have The Evil Eye by Antonio Pagliarulo. Thank you so much, Antonio, for sending me a copy of this. This book, yeah, I got a little signature. That's how much I read this. The Evil Eye, this book goes through a lot of different cultures and practices to talk about the evil eye. You know, I'm Italian American and a folk Catholic, so when I go in here, I'm not taking anything that's Jewish or Islamic. I'm going in and I'm saying, hey, Italian American. There were definitely rituals in here that I'm not familiar with that I learned about that Antonio shared, as well as that it really is a good introduction to the evil eye and understanding and recognizing what it is in your own life. I read this so quickly. I thought it was really engaging. I thought that it had a lot of really good information, including protective rituals in here that are both specific to certain cultures and open for everyone. And that kind of mix, I think, really balances the book out, because it's not everything where I'm like, oh, I can't do this because I'm not a part of this culture. It's like, oh, this is for everyone, versus this is for only a few people. Antonio also, like, the things he's sharing, you know he did the work, you know he went through and learned from these people, and because of that, I really like it. All right, I'm on my last two books. I think that's 10. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What's the 10th one? Wait, am I missing one? Oh, of course. Talking to Spirits by Sterling Moon, which I cannot find my copy of. She's been a medium and doing mediumship retreats for so long, and there's just so much information in there in approaching how to talk to spirits and kind of communicating with them that it feels wrong to not recommend her book on here. And I wish I had my copy around. I don't know where it is. I lose books a lot. I thoroughly enjoyed reading Talking to Spirits and engaging with Sterling's work, and I feel like there's just so much knowledge she has to give with us, and because of that, I'm like, also she's just so sweet. I love her. Obviously, Cunning Words by Marshall, The Witch of Southern Light. I cannot talk enough about this book. It is a grimoire, it is folk magic, it is traditional witchcraft, and it is tied together with a little red seal. Half of this book is stories, folkloric stories that Marshall wrote based off of like real folklore or getting inspired by certain things, and the other half is a bunch of spells. And I absolutely adore it. I've used several spells in this book for different purposes, and due to that, I have to put it on this list. They're accessible, they have ingredients that are right outside your door, the stories are engaging and lovely and play upon really well-known kind of traditional and folkloric witchcraft myths, and because of that, I love it. Also, Marshall's a good friend of mine. Sweetheart. Look at all these. ASMR. I have cracked this, and there's also definitely little like dog ears on the bottom from places that I was like, I need to do this. But one of my favorite things is a Mercurial Road opener. This spell changed my life. There are knots of healing, and it's kind of broken up into a lot of sections. There's the 7 siblings, or the planetary correspondences, the red mother, the green mother, and the black mother. And those 3 all have to do with different things: bane, healing, plants, and the way that it's broken up, I love. I literally cannot wait for Marshall to come out with something new. We read this in Patreon book club, and we also got a chance to have Marshall on to talk about this book, and it was just wonderful. Everyone loved it. Everyone was so engaged with it. It is self-published, so you can buy it on Amazon as well as in some select Witchy stores. I highly recommend it. I love the hardcover. I paid a little extra for it, but it also comes in paperback. Now, this is my last one. So I'm still working through this, but I think it's impossible for me to not share this. This is Witchcraft Medicine, Healing Arts, Shamanic Practices, and Forbidden Plants. It is a very chunky book. It was recommended by one of my teachers, and it goes through a lot of different folklores. It follows kind of the experience of humans as they evolved and changed and moved forward, and the plants that came with them. And there's like little color in there. I love a little color. Witch medicine is wild medicine. It does more than make one healthy. It encourages knowledge and engenders ecstasy and mythological insight. Witchcraft medicine, in Witchcraft Medicine, the authors take the reader on a journey that examines the women from centuries past who mixed the potions and became the healers. As humans left the thorny brush and settled into agrarian societies, elements of nature became identified as wild and destructive, and the culture of the witch was born. It's a study of ancient texts, medieval texts. It's a study of herbs. Like, some of these are just you see and you're like, ah, St. John's wort. There is different like little folk remedies in here. There's discussion of midwives, discussion of mothers of death, Hecate, witches, the dead. It's just so in depth, and it feels wrong, like talking to spirits with Sterling Moon, to not include it, even if I'm not fully through it, because I'm just so taken with it in the first chapter. So this is the only book on here that I've not completely read, and because of that, I'm gonna wait, but I'll probably post a full review of this eventually. I also have some new books that Crossed Crow Books sent me. I got Mortalis's new book, The Bonus Ball and the Spiral. I got Icelandic Plant Magic, The Way of Four, and I got, I think it's the Black Book of Jonathan, hold on. The Black Book of Jonathan Not Bristle. If you guys want actual like small video reviews on this, or want me to go through each one and share, let me know. I'd love to do some reviews on here, like book reviews. I'd also really love to, I do reviews on my Patreon as well, and those are unfiltered, which means whatever I think about the book, negative or positive, you will have access to. But those are all the books I have for today. I thank you for watching. If you want to like, subscribe, turn the bell on, absolutely no pressure. If not, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Siate benedetti.